Welcome to the Temple of Flame. On today, Faithful Acolytes, we take a look at this. And what this is another product tie-in, this time from Buffalo Trace Bourbon. Now it's interesting, as we say, whiskey flavored hot sauce and other natural flavors, inspired by the flavors of Buffalo Trace. So I have had Buffalo Trace for a while. I was very heavily into bourbons, trying them out. You can see the label is just wrecked here. I don't know what happened. Maybe it got wet or something during the application, I guess. But so Buffalo Trace I found to be an okay-ish bourbon. I would put it, I guess, more towards the middle as far as bourbons go. My preferences were Bullet first by a long way, and then Eagle Rare I enjoyed as well. Those two were generally my two favorites. But this is interesting, I think. And here's the interesting part. I have stumbled across another B&G. And so B&G, of course, is one of the food conglomerates. They also did the 4-6s hot sauce, which there's a review and a video for that if you're interested. So this one has a very similar ingredient profile. We've got distilled vinegar, water, distilled vinegar, so water and distilled vinegar are apparently a combination. We've got red cayenne peppers, salt, sugar, natural flavors, guar gum, xanthan gum, bourbon way at the end, and ascorbic acid. Now, the idea of a Louisiana sauce with bourbon, I think, has merit in that cayenne is very, very flexible. And if the ratios are not too far away, I could see where this would work. You could get a little bit of smokiness. You could get some of the off characteristics of bourbon, some of the notes of vanilla and so on. A little bit of sweetness. They chose to amplify that with sugar. And you can see it looks more or less like your regular cayenne, Louisiana style cayenne sauces. We've got the restrictor cap, of course, because this is very loose. This is a quite watery sauce. And you can see here, it looks more or less just like the sort of vinegar forward Louisiana style cayenne sauces that we are quite accustomed to, of course. But this one has, of course, the element of bourbon, and the success or failure of this sauce will rest on that one additional ingredient, of course. But there you can see it's oranges toward maybe a slight brownish. The color is a little... It's closer to what we would expect than not, but it is a little... To me, it's not exactly there. Let's get on into it and see how they did. So I've said this before, that I'm not generally a huge fan of liquors in hot sauces. And it's because I think they're handled so clumsily most of the time. But I think it's an interesting idea. So I've done a number of sauces that have had liquor or beers or whatever in them. The problem I have is I would have to include this, unfortunately, as one of the clumsier attempts, I think. And here's the thing. So if I open the bottle and I smell more of this than I smell of a hot sauce, obviously it's not Jim Beam. I have done the Jim Beam sauces, although I don't think those exist anymore. But if I smell more of a hard liquor than I do a hot sauce, to me that's a problem. And this is very unfinished in that regard. I don't necessarily want to pour bourbon on my food. And I don't drink a lot of bourbon. That bottle you just saw is at this point probably over 5 years old. And it's been untouched for over 2 years at this point. The last time I had it was back in 2024, January 2024, before I understood that I had COVID. And that was definitely not the thing to try to add to to having that particular bout. So, but this one is the same problem I've had with a lot of other liquors and stuff, in that it just is too forward. Like, I think there's a very thin line where you want the presence of it as a flavor element, like the Cajuns has. I mean, John Hart has done things with liquor, but and Gindos as well, and actually Butterfly Bakery, but they know how to handle it in a sauce where it adds and complements the chili and fuego, the lengua and fuego, the one that they did, the Honduran one that was on the hot ones. It's sort of a kind of a mustardy thing. That one as well. Like, it is certainly possible to have a hot sauce with liquor and it's handled well. This one is, I don't know what they're doing here. What I find interesting is that Buffalo Trace is not listed as the bourbon in the ingredients, which strikes me as really, really bizarre if you're putting Buffalo Trace and the Buffalo and so on the label. The expectation is that Buffalo Trace, the product, is in the sauce. And that does not seem to be the case from what I can read on the label here. Obviously, trying to pick out the notes of a bourbon I've only had, like, I did go through a bottle of it, but that was quite some time ago. And I don't recall, where it would sort of fall compared to other bourbons. I just recall that I liked it a lot less. So I'm not sure what B&G is going for here, I guess, ultimately. But that's fine. We'll just judge it on what we have. So we've got here, we've got some potato skins. And these are from Kroger, and they got a little cheap here. So I filled in a couple cavities with some medium cheddar. But, we'll splash it on. And this is the sauce that bourbon is too far forward. And it actually, it literally smells like I'm dumping this, lordy, onto this food. And it's like they just threw in raw liquor into this. And it's so unrefined. It's like, why are you doing that? Like, a lot of times when I have a liquor and a hot sauce, I will have to try to find some way of cooking it off. So it winds up a lot of time being a grill sauce. Well, Louisiana style is not a good candidate for a grill sauce. It's very watery, it's very runny, and it is very vinegar forward. So trying to cook it off, trying to flash it off on a grill or adding heat to it it's definitely going to go against the idea of the Louisiana style canned sauce. So, but this one, I don't like that. So this doesn't function very well as a sauce, even though it is almost the last ingredient. The bourbon is here. They still needed to dial it way, way, way further back in the mix. Like if this was maybe a quarter of what it is here, it probably would be fine. Like adding it as a grace note, adding it as accompaniment, I think is not a, again, it's not a bad idea, but this is just, so I'm hoping here that with the bacon, it'll work a little bit better. But in normal places where I like a Louisiana style cayenne sauce, this fails miserably. Even here, it's too much. And because, this is like that Four Creeks or 4 Sixes or whatever it was, whatever that sauce was, this is like that, only just with a heavy dose of bourbon poured into it. That's the thing. If you're going to put this out, look, I can make that. I can just pour this into a hot sauce and boom, I have it. Like, is that all you're doing? Why? Like, why do that? I don't get it. Are there that many Buffalo Trace fans out there that will see this and have immediate kittens trying to buy the sauce? Like, I'm not a part of the bourbon world anymore. I mean, Buffalo Trace certainly has a name, but is it a big enough name to do this? I don't know. I don't know who this appeals to. It's hard for me to kind of imagine a lot of people tasting this and going, "Oh hell yeah, that's what I needed in my life." Like if you wanted to cut the richness of a mac and cheese by dumping hard liquor into it, I mean, is that something that you would consider? And the cayenne puts up such a brave fight. It tries so hard to cut through. Unfortunately, all for naught. I mean, every hot sauce is not going to be great. And the vanity ones are oftentimes meant to be more... I poured extra on here with the hope that the heat would sort of evaporate off some of the sort of raw, boozy nature of this. This isn't the worst one I've had, though, for that. It just doesn't work in this type of sauce. Like I said, this type of sauce is predicated on a couple different attributes, and adding liquor to that is just not. I don't think ever going to work. I just think they needed a lot less of the liquor in there. And maybe it's artificial flavoring, but it doesn't read like that. It literally reads like opening. Like you haven't seen me open this. You haven't seen me open this on camera. But right now, the smell from this plate is like I just did that. It smells like I opened up that bottle. Just what I'm getting from this plate here. I don't know of any artificial bourbon flavoring that would do that. It's just really... It makes my brain itch when that happens. And my first thought is, did I spill like liquor somewhere? Have I been mixing drinks that I'm unaware of? And I spilled a bunch on the table? Because I got too drunkety? Is that what happened? I don't know. But no, it's just this. So I guess needless to say, I'm not going to be keeping this. This sort of foul concoction. Normally, I will try to, use up, find a way to utilize it if it's like close, if it's a decent sauce. Otherwise, I just don't like that part of it. And I put a great many sauces with liquor on the grill just to get that raw alcohol taste out of it, and hopefully leave behind flavor elements. Can't do it with this one. Not a way to do that. That's why I'm afraid it's going to have to be in the old scrap heap. And again, this is another one that I came across on Amazon, where I needed shipping for something quite a while ago now. And sometimes that makes me think that I should reconsider that strategy. Like, it's not like the worst sauce I've ever had or anything like that. It is just very unrefined. Which I think for this definitely works against it. But, like on Amazon, you can't always tell what something is. In this case, I didn't realize it was B&G until I had it in hand, and actually it was opened. Same with the 4.6s. But that sauce, even if it was a bit pedestrian, I did like that way better than this. I think this one I kind of saw it and I went, oh, 6 fluid ounces. Hey. If it's decent at all, it's a deal. You know, maybe other people like this kind of stuff better. I said it before, sure I'll say it again, including now. I'm a foodie first, over to Chili Head. And this one doesn't, adding it to stuff doesn't enhance and balance the flavors like that. For instance, those are fairly heavy. So I want a little bit of lightness. I want to hit them with a little bit of a garlic hit. Cut some of that richness down a little bit. We got cheese and bacon and very plain potatoes most of the time. But if you have a really good Louisiana style, like even a semi-decent one like that, like the 4.6s, it'll elevate that. But this one is like having, literally like, you know what? Actually, in fact, let's do that. Yep. So this one, they're very, very similar. Like this one, I can get little bits of, like, I can get a saltiness out of it. I can get a little bit of the vinegar and cayenne. But it is more similar to this than to any hot sauce I can think of. That is, it's not what I want out of a hot sauce, unfortunately. So, again, I'll just say it. As far as liquor and stuff in hot sauces, I think it can work, but I think it's got to be handled delicately and gracefully. This one is calling it a smooth and savory blend. No, I wouldn't. Smooth is not the word I would use. Savory, you can kind of say, but there's not. I mean, it's not really even that. It is. Very just a bizarre concoction here. I don't. it is too raw liquor-y for me, and there's not really a way to get around that. I don't think without also, like, if I cook off the liquor, I'm going to cook off the vinegar also, and what's left behind is then going to be kind of probably a sourish sort of mess. To me, all they had to do was just use less of the bourbon, and they probably would have had something a lot closer to, I think, what they were hoping for, which is grace notes from the bourbon in a otherwise fairly non-expensive sauce. And they just, I think, missed the mark as far as that goes. So I can't say that. I mean, this is definitely not the worst sauce with liquor in it that I've ever had. But booze and sauces, like I said, it's like extracts for me, in that it is so often such a mixed bag that I generally don't really look strongly at those when I see them. I just kind of like, maybe not. And this one, had the price not been where it was, I probably wouldn't have bothered with these either, to be honest. But as it turns out, that impulse might have been the correct one for me. So yeah, definite miss as far as I'm concerned on this one. And we'll just leave it right there. So that was the Buffalo Trace hot sauce. Number 4. In peace.
to serve the flame.